Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I'm Lauren Schnipper.
And I'm Joshua Cohen. Lauren,
Yes.
have you been to the Minecraft movie and how many times?
No, but my older child and my husband went, and my husband he thought it was awesome. He said it was like Rocky Horror. People were like hooting and hollering. They were going nuts.
And he enjoyed that experience?
Yeah, no, he thought it was great.
Experience?
He thought it was great.
Did he tell you any more about the kinds of people that are doing this stuff?
No.
And then why just your older child? Why not your younger child?
Because it was like a thing with that kid, sort of a bunch of kids in that class. And then,
Got it.
was just, and of course, on the day of the younger one was like, I want to go. And I was like, dude, you said you didn't want to go. So like, it ain't happening. You know what I mean? So,
It ain't happening after that.
Yeah.
I went once with my children on opening weekend, and the hooting and hollering was already there from high schoolers. It was kind of super fun, kind of terrifying. It's just continued. I mean, it's become this box office juggernaut.
Yeah.
Has grossed over $565 million worldwide. That's $291 million domestic, $273 million international. The best opening weekend of any movie based on video game IP.
Wow.
Beat out
Better
Super
than
Mario
Mario.
Bros.
Better than
Yeah.
Mario. Wow.
Squeaked by Super Mario Bros. When it opened. And partly because I think the kids are seeing it multiple times because they want to do all the Rocky Horror stuff and they want to get content for themselves doing the Rocky Horror stuff. There are some videos online, you can go search for them, about people maybe taking it a little bit too far. There's this one meme called Chicken Jockey where this baby zombie rides a chicken and apparently it's a thing. I don't know. I only play Minecraft through the lens of watching my children play Minecraft. In any case, it was a really exciting part for lots of people in the movie. There's a TikTok video of one kid bringing in a live chicken into the theater and then the movie theater being shut down. People throwing popcorn all over the place. Maybe that's a little bit too rowdy, but kids need an outlet these days.
They really do. They really do.
They really do. But you know what's even more interesting than all of that, Lauren?
Tell me.
Is there is this video gamer called Technoblade. And Technoblade tragically passed away in 2022 at the age of 23. He was this massive YouTube Minecraft player. He was in the Dream SMP, basically beloved by everybody. When he passed away, his channel had over 11 million subscribers. And then his parents did this really heartfelt kind of tribute video after he passed away, uploaded it to his channel. Posthumously, he's been this figure in the Minecraft world on YouTube and just at large. So he had this cameo in the movie.
Oh, he did? Oh.
His avatar is this pig with a crown on it. And in the movie, this pig with a crown walks by and one of the characters goes, "Who's that?" And Jack Black says something like, "That is a legend." And then everybody moves on. But it's this really nice, touching tribute that they have in the movie for Technoblade. And his numbers on YouTube have just shot up because of it.
Oh, wow. Can we just talk about how much I love Jack Black? I love Jack Black so much. I just watched the SNL with him. He's so cuckoo bananas. He's so crazy, but you'll never see anybody more committed to everything that he does. I just enjoy, he's such a joy to watch.
He just gets on that elevator or plane or moving walkway or whatever it is and doesn't step off.
He doesn't step off. I mean, God, I'm not going to describe what the sketch that I like the most. It was so stupid, but it was so funny. And I just enjoy him so much.
There is, I think as you get older, there's a greater appreciation because you realize the time, energy, and effort it takes to put yourself into that mindset for an extended period of time.
I think I don't know how fun he would be to live with. You know what I mean? Like be around all the time. Who knows if he's always on like that? But it might be worse if he's like on like that and then super off. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what's right or good, but I just enjoy him so much.
Should we do a bit about Jack Black's at-home bits? You think he's wild and raucous at home?
I don't know.
Probably
I think he is. I feel like he is. I don't feel like he's somebody who like really. I don't know. He feels like somebody who's just on from the moment he wakes up. But maybe not. He's allowed not to be.
Famously, he also had this YouTube channel called Jablinski Games. He uploaded to it a year ago, but then was pretty consistent. Yeah, totally. He had it with his family. It was kind of like a family vlog where he would play games with his family, also market whatever projects he was in. But he was pretty consistent with it, like once or twice, maybe 3 times a month for a year and a half. I mean, he started 6 years ago. Last video uploaded was a year ago. But there was a moment in time when he was basically a YouTuber.
He was a YouTuber, of course, obviously.
And let me tell you, he got on and didn't step off on those videos. But so, Lauren, getting back to Technoblade, he gained 600,000 subscribers in the month of March. He's now up to more than 19.2 million subs. Also in March, he gained around 30, close to 30 million views, maybe a little bit more, when on average, his catalog is netting 5 million views a month, and he's gaining maybe 100,000 subs a month.
And when did he pass away?
He passed away in June 2022. He's just 23 years old.
That's terrible.
In his final message to fans, he wrote, quote, "If I had another 100 lives, I think I would choose to be Technoblade again every single time." That's so sweet. That's so... We're just going to tear up for a second.
It's a good moment.
Yeah.
I love it.
That is really sweet.
All right. Well, hard pivot. We're going to get to some big stories. A little bit later in the podcast, we're actually going to have Jasmine Enberg on the podcast, who is the VP Principal Analyst at eMarketer. She will be on very soon. She is a prolific digital media executive. She's on all the panels. We are lucky to have her. I'm very excited about that.
On all the TV shows, too.
All the things. All the things. Before we get to that, let's talk about a little bit what's going on with Zuckerberg, who's currently going through these, trial hearings, I don't know what they're called, around the fact that the FTC wants to break Meta up because they're claiming that it is a monopoly. And so there's been a lot of interesting revelations coming out during sort of his testimony with all this. And no big shocker, Josh's favorite. If you're new here, there's a magazine called Noda Magazine. But evidently, Zuckerberg said that, he perceived TikTok as a giant threat. And there was communications validating that. I don't know if that was in his testimony or some of the communications they had. So okay, yes, we know. And also he said something interesting that Snapchat, he believes that Snapchat would have grown a lot faster if it had accepted Meta's offer to buy it in 2013 for a reported $6 billion. Apparently, it was reported initially back in 2013 for $3 billion, but actually the offer was closer to $6 billion. Because Zuckerberg said that he thought Snapchat wasn't growing at the potential that it could, and that his company would have improved the app. He said, quote, "For what it's worth, I think if we would have bought them, we would have accelerated their growth, but that's just speculation." Which I think, by the way, I believe it, but I also don't know if that'd be a good thing. As we know, growth at whatever cost, I think has gotten Meta into a lot of trouble. And so I just think that's very interesting. So yeah, again, the FTC is looking to force Meta to restructure or sell Instagram and WhatsApp, arguing that the company is spending billions of dollars to acquire apps to fend up competitors, creating what they're considering an illegal monopoly. I thought it was also interesting where, people are highlighting that, there was communications that indicated that Meta saw TikTok as a highly urgent threat, according to this sort of trial that's going on. And, when I was there, Snap was the big threat. It was thought of as there's been cycles. I don't know if you remember, Google had their social media network that they came out with, and there were circles was the thing. And then Meta came up with all these competing products that were circles were meant to be closer groups of friends, and it didn't really work, which is funny because right now I feel like social media is going back to those smaller circles. I think that was they were just a little bit ahead of their time. And the Google sort of social media app didn't really work. I don't remember what it was called. And I remember there were, talks internally and Zuckerberg sort of saying we shouldn't just act in fear. We created all these competing products, and it turns out we were great as it was. And meanwhile, here we are today, and everybody's basically turning into the same social media app based on the fear of competitors. It's just really interesting. I mean, I don't know. It's of course, this is what I mean. I'm no legal expert, but this is what it is. Of course they're worried about irrelevancy. Of course they're worried about competitors, and of course they're trying to stop out the competitors and probably buy them. But I think it's just the scale of this, and if you own where all of the world communicates, that's a little bit terrifying.
Lauren, what's also interesting here is that this trial is even happening at all. So Mark Zuckerberg reportedly called the Federal Trade Commission's chair, that's Andrew Ferguson, in late March, and offered to pay $450 million to settle this antitrust case. Now, the FTC is looking for fines totaling $30 billion. So Mark Zuckerberg was looking for a little bit of a deal, but obviously he's been looking for a little bit of a deal here too in all of what he's done to cozy himself up to Trump. I mean, getting rid of content moderation, getting rid of DEI initiatives at Facebook, making Facebook overall less feminine and more, quote, masculine, in his words. Paying for parties at Trump's inauguration, being at Trump's inauguration, ingratiating himself to the president, both privately and publicly in all these different ways, in the hopes that it would help his case, literal case in this instance,
That's your
in the
theory.
hopes that it would
That's
help
your
his
theory
case,
of it all.
his
Anyway.
literal case.
That is your theory that he's doing all this in order to stop this sort of antitrust lawsuit.
My theory, and also the theory of other people who are able to read and process information.
Okay.
Or just listen to and process information. So that obviously didn't happen. The trial's taking place, and Zuckerberg testified for over 4 hours at it earlier this week and stated throughout that he doesn't believe that there's a legitimate antitrust case here because of all of the competition that Facebook now faces in terms of YouTube, TikTok, X, and maybe even with LinkedIn now, as it's growing its short-form video business and basically just social media business as well. Mm-hmm. But counterpoint for the FTC, it argues that those are broadcast platforms where Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram are fundamentally more friend-to-friend social networks and only have one basic competitor here, which is Snapchat.
And TikTok.
And TikTok a little bit, but TikTok isn't as much of a messaging platform, or at least isn't perceived as much as a friend-to-friend messaging platform in the public eye, as Instagram, Facebook for sure, WhatsApp for sure are.
I feel like it's one of those things where, like, as Dr. Becky says, two things can be true. I absolutely know from personal experience that there's a real fear of competitors inside those halls. Like, it's real, and I've seen the evidence of creators going elsewhere, and I think that's all legit. But also, they own a lot of the social media, whatever you want to call it, platforms, and it's kind of terrifying.
They totally do.
You know,
and
what I mean?
I think if you just looked at basic human behavior on these platforms, like the vast majority of people who are on YouTube are not using it for any type of social interaction. The vast majority of people on TikTok, maybe a little bit more, are using it for some social interaction. Yeah. But that's an anomaly. Like, if I hear about people chatting on TikTok, it's odd. When I go to networking events and everybody wants my contact information, they start with Instagram.
Oh, see, no, I don't think so. We started at LinkedIn. Everybody's starting with LinkedIn now.
I know. I'm just going to a little bit cooler, more hipper, a little bit more younger events.
That's
like appropriately younger events.
I feel like that's creepy. I feel like you've just outed yourself, and that's like I'm uncomfortable.
I'm trying to hang out with creators, Lauren.
Yeah, no totes.
And creators want to hang out with me.
Yeah, no totes. It's all LinkedIn now. Like, that's where all the messaging happens.
Totally. But if not LinkedIn, people want Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's just basic text.
Yeah.
Or WhatsApp.
Text.
Out of the country.
Text. It's like, ooh, what are you, like, crawling into bed with me? Ew, you want my number?
Yeah, that's wild.
I find it fascinating. These kids think that, like, giving their phone number is, like, so personal. And they're like, Snap is, like, totally anonymous. And it's like, I'm not giving too much away. Meanwhile, they're putting all of their information on a social media platform that, like, they don't control. Whereas, like, the truth is the privacy is actually with the text message kids, unless, foreign adversaries are listening. Anyway, I digress.
But there is a point here that I think the government has.
I think both sides have points. I agree. I mean, I think they both do. Okay, I want to get to Jasmine and this really interesting study that that eMarketer and Spotter did. So let's go get to that conversation right now. Okay, thank you so much. We have Jasmine Enberg, VP Principal Analyst at eMarketer here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, so excited. So eMarketer, if I believe the LinkedIn, is the go-to forecast data and insights provider for marketing, advertising, and commerce professionals. And you guys teamed up with Spotter to do some really interesting research on kind of the future of influencer marketing. Would love to hear some of these interesting high projections that you guys are sort of forecasting for 2025. If you can go into that a little bit.
Yeah, so outside of our work with Spotter too, we project, the growth within the influencer marketing industry as well as in the creator economy at large. So this year, we are predicting spending on sponsored content in the US alone to surpass $10 billion.
Wow.
And that's actually happening a year earlier than we had predicted in our previous forecast. And just for some context, it's actually more than we are predicting that YouTube will generate in net ad revenues this year. So you can see just how massive the industry has become just over the past, few years or so.
That's crazy. And I thought a couple things were really interesting. Number one, you sort of were quoted in saying, creator discovery has largely been solved, but identifying the right partners remains a top challenge. Can you explain what makes a creator, quote unquote, right, the right partner in 2025? And why is it still such a problem?
Yeah, so what was really interesting about this is for the past few years, the top challenge for marketers really has been securing budget for influencer marketing. Mm-hmm. And now what we're seeing is the C-suite is largely bought into the tactic, but CMOs and obviously CFOs really want to know that the investments that they're making in influencer marketing are paying off. And one of the first steps to ensuring a successful campaign or partnership, of course, is identifying the right partners. And as we've seen the creator economy grow and expand, we're at a point now where marketers really have the luxury of choice when it comes to who to work with. And there's a ton of tools out there that can help marketers discover creators that want to work with brands. But as the research showed, identifying the right creators is still a big challenge. And it's more important than ever in this environment where, feeds are saturated with sponsored content, with advertising, and a lot of people are becoming more discerning of it. And I think one of the big problems is that a lot of brands still rely on vanity metrics like follower counts when they're looking at creators who they want to work with, and also when they're determining how they compensate those creators. And the problem, of course, is that follower counts, along with other surface level metrics, just really don't accurately reflect a creator's potential to drive business outcomes for a brand. And so one of the things we've seen too is that there has been this shift toward looking at engagement rate and audience demographics, which are better, but they still don't paint the full picture. There's never going to be a one-size-fits-all approach to creator influencer identification, but what we do know is that marketers really do have to look beyond these surface-level metrics, even looking at things that are more intangible, like creative alignment, as well as sentiment, or the quality of engagement, including consumer sentiment. How are they talking about the content, about the creator, and about the products that are being talked about there?
Yeah, and I think something else you touched upon is like business outcomes. Like, what are your desired business outcomes? And I think this goes to one of the other metrics I'm going to sort of mention in a second. But talking, if your goal is conversion, right? Like I've told the story on this podcast before, where I was working at a merch company for about a year, and I did a big drop. We were doing these like collaborations with bigger brands. I did a big drop with a creator who has like 17 million followers across platforms. He could not move 200 units of product, like period. And then I did a drop with this gamer who was like mid-size, like in the 400, 500,000 followers, was like 2,000 units a week. It was crazy. And actually, I spoke to the manager of that creator, and they ended up like building a business around that because of the drop that I did with them. I didn't even know that. Like 2 years later, and I was like, what's going on? He's like, well, remember that drop we did? Like we basically, it determined that they had a real influence, for lack of a better word. So along those lines, I thought it was really interesting that some of the other findings I saw here were that marketers are seeking out long-term partnerships with creators as a priority, and working with micro influencers, which is as two big sort of, emerging tactics, which makes a ton of sense to me if you are trying to especially, have sentiment, not only good sentiment towards your brand, but also just conversion. Can you talk a little bit about micro influencers? I think that's always a fascinating sort of topic.
Yeah, well, the micro-influencer space really has blown up in the past couple of years, both in terms of the number of micro-influencers as well as advertiser interest in working with them. And to the story that you just told, I mean, part of the reason for that is because these creators tend to be seen as more relatable by their audiences. And that makes it more likely that they're going to trust their product recommendations and buy them. That said, though, I do think that there is, a value in larger influencers as well, especially when it comes to things like brand awareness.
Yes.
And that ultimately can also lead to sales, but it's a longer tail. It's a longer process sometimes to get there. But, I think having conversions be one of the top priorities within influencer marketing is really interesting. Also a big shift from previous years when, influencer was really thought of more as an upper funnel play. Now it really is a full funnel marketing tactic.
Yep.
And the conversions are going to become more important, especially as we're heading into this period of a lot of economic uncertainty, and a lot of brands are more focused on the lower funnel.
I think it's really interesting because to me, the way you described it, there's essentially two main components to marketing in general, but there's brand sentiment and then there's conversions, and both you can be accomplished, I think, working with creators. And to me, the long-term partnerships with creators, I love that that's sort of like becoming more of a priority, because I think it is, I know, especially like I've spoken to many managers and stuff, and they're like trying to sort of convince brands that this is where they should be doing those longer term kind of campaigns and relationships as opposed to just the one-off just for conversion, which is equally as important, but it's just a different side of the same coin where you've got to it's like, do you want to just drop a bunch of t-shirts and sell them, or do you want people to fall in love with your brand and, and really love it and want to be a part of it in every step of the process, right? And so I think that what this is showing is that the macro, thing that where I see is that brands are finally seeing that creators, influencers are a place that you can do that kind of campaign work as well.
And I think ultimately both brands and creators want longer term relationships, right? I mean, longer term partnerships for creators provide them with more predictable income and more stability in their work.
Yes.
And so it really is a win-win. And if you think about the relationship that they can build, I mean, there's just so many more opportunities for iteration, for improvement when it comes to campaigns. There's also a lot more opportunities to do things like product collaborations, and more creative ways of partnering together that really just help deepen the relationship that a brand has with a consumer. It also, of course, gives a trusted face to the brand and to the product. And so we're definitely seeing brands shift more into that space. But again, this goes back to what we talked about in the very beginning. How do you identify the right person to be a brand ambassador?
Yeah. No, it's super tough. And it's like historics, but there's not a lot of history, so it's like, how do you, of course, my brain goes immediately to a 90s reference. It's like, how did Nike decide on Michael Jordan? You know what I mean? It's like he was an epic. I mean, go watch the movie. It was really good. Anyway, this is really great. Thank you so much. I'm so curious if when we have you on next year, you're going to say we should have predicted it's going to be $20 billion because this was twice as much as last year.
I hope not, because we would be way off then.
Yes. No. I love it. Jasmine, where should people find you?
You can find my content at emarketer.com or follow me on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's get to some uploads and downloads. I thought this was interesting as sort of an upload. So Patreon's latest tool for fan engagement is Lime Video. For creators who want to forge a deeper fan connection to establish stronger revenue streams, Patreon has a plan. Go live. The monetization platform has started testing live video product that will give users a way to launch broadcasts without leaving the Patreon app. You can currently integrate live streams from other platforms, but this is directly on Patreon. I feel like this is the coolest announcement from 2016. Literally. It should be on Patreon, and it is a way for, subscription folks that pay for subscriptions to have more fan engagement. So yes, and also, but what, it's just it's really shocked. I don't think I realized, because I'm not a power Patreon user, I don't think I realized how behind, I knew, but I didn't know how behind they were in product development until the last couple of years. And it's wow, it's just so interesting how that was just obviously not a priority and that they just weren't making these products on their platform. So it's an upload that they are, doing this, but come on, guys.
What's really interesting here, speaking about Patreon and just subscription to creator services in general, is what happens in a potential economic downturn with those. During the pandemic, you saw this huge boon for those types of products. Because creators were basically asking their fans to support them in other ways than they normally would. And lots of people did. But if there is another big economic downturn here in the States, it seems like that wouldn't be the case anymore.
I mean, yeah, this is the time when people look at and all of a sudden they take stock of all of their subscriptions. I mean, I have a ridiculous amount of subscriptions on platforms and all the things. But I think it's time will tell. I don't know.
They posted this recent article that said creators are bracing for this. At least some are.
Yeah.
Hoping that maybe brand deals can fill the gap, focusing more on long form YouTube content and programming to help fill the revenue gap there, if their subscribers start to take it.
Brands are cutting back too. Everybody's just pausing right now because they don't know what's going to happen with the economy. It's everybody I'm talking to that works at a brand is this is our year of pausing and reflecting and not spending huge budgets and stuff. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's I think whatever's going to happen is creators will not be immune, I think, is the larger point.
Speaking of brand sponsorships, Lauren, quick upload here. So Snap is offering sponsorships for its Snap schools. Basically what Snapchat does is they have these classes around the country where they will go and aggregate a bunch of Snapchat creators in that location from that surrounding area and more, and teach them how to be better at Snapchat. This is something that lots of the big platforms do. YouTube is doing this reportedly in every single state this year to mark its 20th anniversary by bringing creators together in these small cohorts. It used to be that these different platforms would host these kind of like big events and bring everybody out for them, where a lot of them now have migrated towards hosting a bunch of smaller events more frequently throughout the year with a more concentrated, smaller group of creators at each one. So Snap is doing that, and now they're offering up sponsorship opportunities for brands to get involved in those, which I think is just ingenious because it's cool for the creators. Creators get to come to one of these Snap schools, learn how to be better at Snapchat, learn about what product developments in the pipeline that they can access, etc., and also get exposed to this brand who might be doing really cool things on Snapchat, might not be doing really cool things on Snapchat, might want to work with them or not, but still they're getting exposure to some potential partner that could be of economic benefit for them in the future. And people think it's cool working with brands these days too. Like selling out isn't a concept for your average creator anymore.
No.
You have no fundamental understanding of it.
It hasn't been for years. It was like the first, when we started, it was selling out if you worked with a brand. Not anymore. No, not at all.
Yeah. It's a cool thing. So it's a rite of passage. So like, do I want to go to the Snap school? Sure, yes. Do I want to go to the Snap school where Clinique is going to be there? Like, heck yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would only be described as a download. So there's a MrBeast experience in Las Vegas that apparently was a bit of a disaster. So apparently they were selling for $1,000 a person this exclusive event in Vegas that was going to have you going to get a mystery bag stocked with merchandise, and then one person was going to get a $10,000 gift voucher, and it was at Resorts World, which is that huge complex in Vegas. It's like not on the Strip. It's like they have hotels, they have all the things. And apparently it's been a disaster. A quote from somebody who was there: "We're at Resorts World for the MrBeast experience, and this is horrible. We arrived yesterday and nobody really had any information. We were told we had to wait in our room for the merch bag. They waited 3 hours for the bag. They were told that it wasn't coming and that they ended up just getting a box of Feastables. And after getting the chocolate, they went around looking for the activities. There were no activities." Jimmy Donaldson, aka MrBeast, said, "Hey, this definitely isn't the experience we had hoped they'd deliver. My team is already on it. I'd love to personally make it up to you and anyone else by inviting everybody affected to tour my actual studio. Can't wait to meet you all. And my team is reaching out to everyone." I feel like, he famously has sort of beef and a lawsuit pending with the third party that was doing MrBeast burgers. This just goes again to show, like, third parties, you've got to, really vet them and be on the ground. Expansion and different lines of revenue are really difficult if you're not there, like, overseeing it. And this feels like the Fire Festival. At least they were in Vegas and not as trapped on
Seems a little bit better than the Fire Festival.
I'm just saying, they were not trapped on some island in a tent. At least they were in Vegas, but kind of sounds not great. So I just feel like
the event seems like it definitely delivered up to expectations.
Yeah, no.
To be fair, Jimmy seems like he's handling it appropriately.
Sure. You have to overcorrect, apologize, accept responsibility and go. And I think that he's doing that. But I think just zooming out, you see this organization that's trying to expand in all these different ways. And I think it seems like where they're getting the most trouble is when they pick the wrong partners. And so it's just critical to have the right partners.
This kind of branded experience at a location where people sleep seems especially hard to figure out. It works with celebrity cruises where they have branded cruises where, I don't know.
Do you also get the ads for the Broadway celebrity cruises like I do?
Exactly. So for those kinds of things, it seems good, but it's usually for a brand like Broadway, or a concept rather like Broadway, or a brand like Disney, or kind of people that were popular 20, 30 years ago.
I think the larger point, though, what you're saying is like an existing operation that you can plug folks into. So there's an existing cruise, they know how to run a cruise, everything's good, and all they do is pay the celeb to essentially give them a free cruise, maybe a little bit of cash. You got to show up a couple nights to do a dog and pony show and then go back in your suite. Whereas when you're starting everything from scratch, like, this, I don't know that Resorts World has done an experience like this before. It's like, to plug in is very, you can't just like create a theme park overnight. It's if it exists and you want to like go and do it, put your name on it, fine. But to create a whole experience like this is not going to happen overnight. We'll see what Jimmy can do. All right. Do you have anything else?
Just a quick download to just trying to buy your way out of FTC litigation.
All right, Josh. I think
we did it. It's a cost of doing business.
I think we did it.
Lauren, I think that's it. I'll see you if you get a hold of a time machine back in 2014, just shouting, "Hey, build a live video product." And if not there, next week on Creator Upload. Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, hey, that's still me, and Adam Connor. It's edited by Adam Connor too. Original music is by London Bridge. Please check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're there, give us a rating, leave us a comment too. If you want to talk, hit us up, info@creatorupload.com. If you like our show, please recommend it to a friend. If you love it, just recommend it to everybody. Thanks for listening, and we will be back next week.